So today we did the last chapter of Philippians, and this is like such a beautiful chapter because of the nice how to say it? It's like a testimony in a sense, right? So we start off here saying to rejoice in the Lord always, no matter what, right? And be careful for nothing but everything in prayer and supplication with thanksgiving. Let your requests be known unto God. This is always something I like to always declare over my life. Because a lot of people, once hard times hit, they stop worshiping God and they wonder, okay, how am I supposed to pray? Everyone goes for the Our Father prayer, which is nothing wrong with that. But you see how he said here, be careful for nothing. In other words, be anxious for nothing. And we all are scared, especially with the COVID. Sometimes there's a hormonal imbalance, sometimes there's something that just triggered off the anxiety, medication. But in everything by prayer and supplication. And supplication means a sacrifice. So, in other words, like fast and pray. That's the one way you could move the hand of God is obedience, tithes and offering, and fasting and prayer, right? And you do it with thanksgiving. So you don't do it in a bad mind. And a lot of people, and I'm not bashing no religion, but when they fast for like certain events around the world, they fast from food, but their thoughts are still the same. They still listen to the same music. They talk the same way. They have no change in the inward mind or in the mind or in the heart. They just basically starving themselves. And this is the thing a lot of people don't get. So they wonder when they fast and pray why God don't answer their prayer. Right? And make your request be known unto God. And the peace of God which passeth all understanding shall keep your hearts and minds through Jesus Christ. And finally, brethren, whatsoever things are true, honest, just, pure, lovely, good report, any virtue, which is any how to say, boy, it's pure then, and if there be any praise, think on these things. So even though we are going through a hard time, we rejoice and we ask God for peace, because God peace is nothing missing, nothing broken, and that's what we need in our lives these days. And people will not understand that sort of peace. They will see you going through what you're going through and be like, the pause there. Anyway, will be like, how this person could be going through all of this and yet still be watch how peaceful they are. Like it doesn't bother them. It's because of God's peace. There's always a lot of people say that if it wasn't for God, they wouldn't have gotten through this, right? And we are tempted to look at the bad and all the negative. That even if somebody does 10 good things for us, the one bad, even we are guilty of holding them accountable. So all the things that are good of a good report, think of these things. Whenever you're tempted to be angry, I mean, we're not saying to not acknowledge your feelings, but you acknowledge it and you remind yourself of the good, right? And just remember that God is a God of peace, and God wants to be with us, right? And we need to rejoice, because when we rejoice in tribulation, that is where we will flourish and we will get victory, right? And careful, but you lacked opportunity. So sometimes we don't even realize that God has answered our prayer, or he answered in a way that we wasn't expecting, and he takes the bad situations and it's a good, and we don't see that most of the times, right? Now that I speak in respect of want, for I have learned in whatsoever state I am therein to be content, that I know how to be abased and how to be abound, meaning that he knows how it is to have and how it is not to have. Everywhere in all things I am instructed both to be full and to be hungry, both to be abound and to suffer need. Right? And I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And this is a nice thing to know. You see when he say to be content, in other words, no matter what situation, whether you have, whether you don't have, whether you're on top of the world, whether you rock bottom, be content and always be grateful. Because they always say that people go through worse. Now, it's not to say you need to dismiss what you're going through, but at the same time, it's like, know your God going to provide. Trust in God. That's where faith comes in. It's like God will make a way, you know. and to know that you could do anything through Christ, whether you have or you don't have. And a lot of people don't get blessed in the area they want, because you see, when God gives them the blessing, they change. They become egotistic, or they become more greedy, or they just worship the blessing more than the blesser, or they just go away from God. And that is one reason why too, and people don't realize God sometimes is saving us by not answering our prayer, because we could be worse off, right? But remember, you could do all things through Christ who gives you strength. So even though you're tired, God is with you, right? And in the ending here now, he's talking about, but my God shall supply all your need according to his riches and glory. And that's the thing, right? According to your need, not your wants, not your desire, all right, but your need. And this is where we see you could do all things through Christ according to his riches and glory. And God's riches is not temperamental, or, as you say, to fade away from this world, like worldly riches. When God have a promise, he will give you that promise, but it's up to you what you do with it. And that promise or that blessing could be either a blessing or a curse, depends on how you choose to use it or what you do with it. So I hope that this chapter touched you the way how it touched me, because it was like one of the best chapters I've read. So I hope everyone has a good, happy holidays. I'm not too sure which chapter I'm going to do, but book. I don't know if I might do Colossians after. So yeah.